Jungle.
Hello and welcome. This is exclusive interview on AD4 TV Radio. I am Tunde Hassan. For various nations across the world, tourism is a critical and core driver of economic growth and development. The tourism component of the GDP, that is, gross domestic product of tourism-driven or tourism-responsive nations, is huge. It is generating income, creating jobs, and expanding infrastructure. My guest on exclusive interview, Mrs. Ife Olarewaju, is a leading player in the tourism sector in Nigeria for close to 2 decades. She is a fellow of the Hospitality and Tourism Management Association of Nigeria and holds the prestigious award of being among the top 100 tourism personalities in Nigeria. She will be sharing insights on how well Nigeria is harnessing and leveraging on tourism in its mainstream economic development agenda. First, this background report.
The World Tourism Organization affirms that tourism has to do with people traveling to and staying in places outside their usual environment for not more than 1 consecutive year for leisure and not less than 24 hours. The position of the global body stretches tourism to cover businesses and other purposes and elevates it beyond the more general perception, limiting the sector to holiday activities only. Tourism can be traced back to Western Europe in the 17th century as a product of modern social arrangements. Tourism can be domestic or international, with international dimension having both incoming and outgoing implications on a nation's economic growth and development. In a 2019 report on Global Edge, a knowledge web portal, tourism is vital for the success of many economies around the world. According to the report, among the value-added benefits of tourism to host destination is a boost to revenue and, by extension, the GDP of an economy. It also creates jobs, develops the infrastructure of a country, and plants a sense of cultural exchange between people around the world. The report further explains that the number of jobs created by tourism in different areas are significant. Such jobs have positive spin-off effects on other sectors that include agriculture, communication, health, and education. Before COVID-19, travel and tourism had become one of the most important sectors in the world economy, accounting for 10% of global GDP and more than 320 million jobs globally. The global pandemic, however, drastically constrained the sector, placing over 100 million jobs at risk, many of which are micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. According to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, women, who make up 54% of the tourism workforce and tourism-dependent countries, felt the negative impacts of the coronavirus crisis for much longer than other economies. Contact-intensive services key to the tourism and travel sectors are also disproportionately affected by the pandemic. This situation, however, eased off marginally recently when people began to feel safer to travel again, thanks to vaccination protocols being rolled out in most economies around the world. It is expected that the tourism environment will be significantly better than this time last year. The post-COVID-19 scenario is among critical issues up for discussion as we engage with our guests on exclusive interview. Ife Olarewaju, a leading player in the tourism sector for close to 2 decades, since 2003.
I'm joined by Mrs. Ife Olarewaju, a tourism practitioner who has been there for close to 2 decades. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What's the tourism sector like in the context of the broad economic activities in Nigeria?
On a scale of 100%, I would say we're not hitting up to 40% yet in Nigeria.
Is it that bad?
Yes, because we are loaded with such potentials that are not harnessed. We have explored other countries who have not up to half of what we have and are doing far better as regards tourism. So that's the reason I would go for 40%.
Actually, this country is known to have enormous tourism potentials. What is stopping, what is being the militating factor to properly harness this potential, turn it into something that is revenue yielding and fulfilling for those who are in the industry?
Over the years, we have had a lot of challenges as a nation, and as a result of that, the tourism has not been given the attention that it requires. And for people who have pushed for tourism to be visible, they have not had sufficient backing of the government to be able to promote it. We have seen a lot of cases where people promote tourism, and there has been a lot of mishaps. Insecurity issues is one of the major reasons tourism has been hampered in Nigeria. If that aspect can be well taken care of, I believe that tourism will gain flight.
Okay, let's look at some of the policy and structures to drive tourism. Tourism is on the concurrent legislative list, meaning that the federal, state, and local governments have powers and authority to go into tourism.
Yes.
Is there a synergy, or is there a conflict with this arising from this provision in the Constitution? The state doing theirs, the federal government doing its own, and the local governments, are they at cross purposes?
I think there are probably selfish interests. That for me seems to be the major contribution for the backwardness in the tourism industry. Selfish interest in the sense that tourism takes time to grow, and it may take decades to gain the limelight, the prominence that is required for it to be something that people can trust. So it's something that is like an investment that you don't get the yield almost immediately. We may have up to 2 or 3 tenures of government handing it over to each other, promoting and keeping the promotion on until it gains credibility and people can trust it. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to build credibility, and that is what we lack. People need to be selfless and know that this is not just for today, it's for posterity. So for me, that's where I see the problems between the federal, the state, and the local government. People are not ready to be selfless, to know that this is something we're doing for maybe the next 50 years. If it's not benefiting us now, it doesn't seem to be on top burner. And I think we need to have a change of attitude in that regard.
So, I mean, taking it away from this seeming selfish disposition, are the policies themselves to drive tourism, are they adequate? Are they sufficient?
We have policies, but you know how it is with things that are in the book and things being implemented. There are policies that if we go by the book, our tourism industry will blossom. But like I said, if the policies are not implemented, if the people at the grassroots in the local government are not implementing what the state government is proposing or what the federal government is proposing, it wouldn't thrive. The person in the local government is concerned about the fact that electricity is not constant and all that. So he's looking for what will make him have his basic comfort for now. He's not seeing the potential in the tourism that we are trying to promote, or maybe the potential I have seen. I'm like, oh, this thing we should give it some little energy, and they're wondering what is the big deal in it. It's not going to come to me. So like I said, it's something that will take time. It takes a lot of enlightenment, over time enlightenment, for people to see the good, the profits, the benefits in it, for them to be able to embrace it.
Now, you've been in this industry for such considerable length of time, 2 decades thereabout.
Yes.
What are the major planks that you expect to have been on ground but are now to drive tourism? What are the major components of the industry?
Firstly is to develop our tourist sites. The tourism sites need influx of resources to be developed to international standard. When I say international standard, I'm talking about the accommodation that are associated with this tourism site. You go to a place like Idonre Hills in Ondo State, for example. You can't find an international standard hotel except if that has changed by today. As at the time I went there a couple of years ago, I couldn't really, it's not a place I would like to stay overnight. I would have to go to the nearest major city, which is Akure, to get something that is almost close to what I'm looking for. So the tourism sites need to be developed intentionally, not haphazardly, intentionally. Proper roads to the tourist site, proper accommodation, proper facilities, electricity, training of the personnel that are there, making them to be at least a minimum standard that can fit into international circle. If that is done, like I said, it will take time. It takes time for this thing to grow. It takes time for people to be trained. It takes time for infrastructure to be put. But once people begin to see the effort of the government in investing in this tourist site, people, even within Nigeria, we will be attracted to go and visit. And from our own social media platforms, and people outside begin to see that, oh, tourism is not that bad in Nigeria, they begin to be attracted to come.
Now, if you look at, from what you've said, infrastructure, there's a huge value chain.
Yes.
Why are we not seeing it? You have the infrastructure will expand.
Yes.
People will get jobs. Whatever remains, what's been latent, will blossom. Why are we not seeing it? We've seen countries like Kenya and some other African countries driving tourism to the high pedestal of their GDP. What's the problem here?
I think, like I said, the problem is that the revenue from tourism will take time to build. And
we've been at it for so long.
It's because we don't have people who are ready to push it and hand over to people who are ready to run with that vision. So you see some administrations who push a particular destination and it becomes very vibrant and everybody is going there. And by the time another administration takes it up, it's not their priority. Those facilities run down. And then another government administration comes and they have to begin renovation. For instance, a typical example is Obudukato Hills. It's been in existence forever. It's a beautiful place, a lovely place. But depending on the government in power, we realize that sometimes it's not giving the maintenance that is expected to have had. By now, it should have scaled international standard with the popularity it had gained at some point. But now it's not that. It's not that. For people to get to Obudu, it's quite a task. There should be like a landing strip or an airport that lands people, if possible, by the bank of Obudu. But as it is, people will have to land in the nearest place. Will take them another 6 hours drive, which is quite a distance. So those things, if they are put into consideration, and to invest in an airstrip or an airport is not a small money. So you discover that you're doing huge investments that may take another 20 years to yield. So those are the things that I feel are holding people back. We need to begin to think posterity. We need to begin to think in terms of 100 years to come, 50 years to come for tourism to gain flight.
Let's take it away from government.
Okay.
I've discussed with a number of experts
yes.
on this tourism. There's the behavioral part, the citizens, their attitude. I've had comments made about how welcoming Nigerians lay claim to being hospitable.
Yes.
They extend a lot of hospitality to people coming. But I hear from experts that the contrary is the situation. The taxi driver, for instance, the man you meet at the airport, the ones you see on the streets, their attitude to driving and promoting the good part of Nigeria has always been a concern. Do you share this concern?
Yes, I do. I believe there must be a campaign of some sort of educating people generally about what tourism stands to benefit the people. People are not even educated about what tourism is. So they don't understand the enormity of what we are losing when we behave in a wrong way towards an expatriate or towards an outsider, we don't know the ripple effect of it. I've been to countries like Kenya, Rwanda, and from the airport, just like you said, everybody is conscious of the fact that they are promoting their nation. So it is our thing. We have to see Nigerian tourism as our thing. We have to be patriotic for this to fly. The taxi driver you're talking about is thinking of how he will get a green card. He's thinking about how he will bail out of Nigeria. So to promote Nigeria is the last thing in his mind. So it starts from the patriotism to the nation, the love for the nation. We need to love what we have. We need to appreciate what we have before we can make others appreciate it. And it cuts across all sectors. It's not only government, even in the private sector. In our industry, we have associations that we've been trying to use to push tourism. We have associations of tour operators, apart from the general travel agents, tour operators who are local tour operators. And we have meetings from time to time. We try to make programs, we do packages, we take people, all with our own funds, just to make sure that people see these things. Sometimes we just pack ourselves and we just go to certain destinations, take pictures, and then blast it on social media. Everything is just for you to see that, look, this place exists. That's our own personal drive. That's our personal investment in promoting tourism. So it goes beyond us that are the promoters to even extending it to the taxi driver, to the lady that is selling granite, to the person that will open the door at the hotel, for everybody to see that, look, Nigeria is a beautiful place. We need to begin to say it. We have been so used to talking down on our nation.
Yeah, that's another concern.
Yes.
Anytime you meet 10 Nigerians, they talk about Nigeria, they talk down.
Yes. And that's where that's wrong.
Of course, that's a disincentive.
Yes.
Even for the tourism industry.
Yes. We need to love our nation. We need to begin to embrace our nation, and we need to begin to promote it with the way we behave towards our nation. Yes, we know every nation has its own challenges. The nations we're going to also have their own challenges. They also have what they are battling with, what they have learned to promote their nation. So you think their own is better than yours just because they love it and they speak so well of it. If we begin to do that, and we start from our schools of our children, letting them see that Nigeria is a good place, letting them see that Nigeria is beautiful, Nigeria can be better, Nigeria is growing, we begin to speak positively. I believe it will affect Nigeria ultimately. At the end of the day, it will take time, but it's a brainwash that has to start from now.
Brainwash. We're talking tourism with one of Nigeria's foremost player in the industry, Mrs. Ife Olaruwaju. We'll return to continue this conversation, especially looking at how COVID-19 has impacted the tourism sector of the economy. We'll be right back.
AD4 TV Radio, we focus on education with emphasis on research and innovation, science and technology, women and girl-child education, children, health, youth and sports, socio-political and economic reforms, security, environment, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. We'll give you information at your fingertips. Learn on the go. Follow AD4 TV Radio on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. AD4 TV Radio, reliable and credible.
We love you, AD4 TV Radio.
You're welcome back. Exclusive interview on AD4 TV Radio. And I have in the studio with me foremost tourism practitioner in Nigeria, who is also a fellow of the Tourism Development Association in the country, Mrs. Ife Olaruwaju. Thanks again for being with us.
Thank you.
COVID has been, I don't want to say epic, but it's been phenomenal across the globe in the past 1 or 2 years. Since 2020, 2019, COVID-19 has had devastating impact on virtually every sector. What's the story with the tourism sector?
Yes, thank you. Like, it affected so many industries, it affected tourism very much. It hindered people from being able to trust in having gathering of people in one place. And most of those tourist sites are usually best enjoyed when you go in groups. Even if you're going as an individual, it's fun when you find other people there. And because of the need to curb the spread of COVID-19, even the tourist sites have been shut down. Many of them are just opening up now. Even hotels were shut down for a long period of time until most of them met the minimum requirement by the government for them to operate. So it has impacted seriously the industry, in the sense that many people were out of business for a long period of time. Tourist sites had to be shut down. And it takes time for people to begin to trust that if they go to the sites, they are sure that they wouldn't contact COVID. So, but
yeah, I mean, tourism generally is a group thing. It's also a contact thing,
yes,
one way or the other. Now, COVID has really affected that. But there's been very wonderful stories of vaccines and the efficacy of these vaccines. Is this changing the story?
Yes, it is. I did a little survey in the past 3 months, and I saw that the traffic of Nigerians who are traveling has increased compared to previous 6 months, which means people are gaining trust, people are more comfortable, people are less fearful of the spread of COVID, knowing that most of them are now vaccinated, and many of these destinations require you to be fully vaccinated before you even travel. So generally speaking, as regards travel, the fear of traveling is dwindling, in my opinion. Even though we still have a number of people who would rather stay, except they will only travel except it's extremely important. But for people have already started doing leisure travel. People are going on tours, and once they are fully vaccinated, I think they are good to go.
Well, leisure travel, well, it's coming back on stream slowly. Maybe not so good to run to the banks for those who are in the industry. But beyond now and the cautious reopening of tourism, so to speak, across the world, post-COVID, as an expert in this field, post-COVID, what structures, what actions need to be taken post-COVID to give the tourism a boost again?
One of the things
I mean, we're not saying that COVID is gone.
Yes.
But everybody is hoping that it will go.
It will go, yes. Even if it doesn't go, people are learning to adjust.
Adapt to it.
To adapt, correct, thank you. To adapt to it. We have begun to see that as long as you follow certain protocols, you are protected. So things that people never paid attention to have now become the norm. For travel now, before you depart, you will do a COVID test. Before you return, you do a COVID test. Those are measures that have become part of the system. So the time when people just remember that, I think I need to go to London, is no longer like that. If you travel, you need to plan. So those are the structures that have now been infused into travel. Travel is no longer something you can just do spontaneously, because even if you have been vaccinated, you still need to do a check to be sure that, oh, you don't have any strains of the COVID attached to you. So once people begin to realize that tourism now requires proper planning, it's part of what is infused into the new structure of tourism. You need to be sure that you are free of COVID on departure and on return. That puts the people, the places you are going to meet at rest, that, okay, this is somebody that will not carry and spread this thing. Pre-COVID, we discovered that many of these outbursts of diseases that happen, like Ebola and all those things, were as a result of one person entering a flight, and that one person infects like 20 people, and the 20 people enter different hotels, and then it spreads. But once these measures are strictly adhered to, ensuring that you're doing genuine COVID tests pre and post travel, and ensuring that we keep the sanitation protocols as to the maximum, I think it's just a matter of time, and people will be very comfortable with travel.
We've had instances in the past in different sectors of national life where protocols, agreeably, I mean, good protocols to ensure growth and development get compromised. And players in the industry are usually involved in this compromise. Have we had such instances where individuals who are players in the tourism sector, in order to cut corners, compromise this protocol within the COVID era?
Within the COVID era, of course, we know that there will always be a few bad eggs, and a few have been exposed. What usually exposes them is if you escape from port A assuming you escape from Lagos airport, by the time you are landing in another airport where you would be checked, it will be exposed. So those protocols have been checking a lot of bad eggs, and people see that there's no escape on this thing. You just have to do the right thing. So a few people that have been scapegoats are examples to people to say, look, just have to do the right thing. Yes.
Okay. Still in this stream of thought, again, there's practically no aspect of human endeavor without quacks. And then those who give an otherwise noble activity a bad name. Tourism, we've had people who fleece other people, fraudsters who use tour packages for criminal activities. Are there mechanisms to curtail this? Because we've had stories of tour packages turning into woes, nightmares for individuals who engage such tourism activity.
That's the reason we have associations that we have created.
And you are a fellow of one
Yes,
of them.
I'm a fellow of one of our associations. We have different associations that guide and guard the industry. So before people can patronize anybody who is bringing a package, it's usually good to check the credibility of such people. What makes many people to fall into these traps is when they are too good to be true. When somebody comes with an offer that's so exciting, and even though you have a reservation about it, but because the price is very attractive, you feel, I think we can go with this. It's always good to do the background check. Where the association comes in is when people are sincerely defrauded and the person is a member of the association. There's a way to track, because to belong to the association, you need to have guarantors. So it doesn't stop at the travel operator's desk. So we realize that most of the people who defraud people, they don't even belong to the association at all. So we have watchdogs who go around once in a while to just check a lot of all these fraudulent activities, to expose some of these people, do disclaimers on people who are defrauding people. It happens, and we are aware of it, that there are people that are not genuine, not sincere. They all they want to do is to collect money from people and defraud them. So over time, we may not have succeeded, because while you are nipping some in the bud, some are also coming up. But it's a continuous project that we are on to ensure that everybody joins the association. Before you advertise packages, it's just that social media has made the world so loose. You can't control what people post. If I'm not a travel operator and I saw a package, I can decide to just post it and then remove $500 from the package, and people are like, oh, you do this, and then people would have paid before they know. Now people don't need you don't need to have a physical office to do business. People do business on trust. On social media, they see in a lovely item, they pay, and they believe and trust that the item will come, and the item has come. So because of that, people are very trusting. Unfortunately, people fall into those fraudsters.
I'm just curious, this next question. I've had it said that tour operators, because for you to engage the services provided by tour operators, at some point, part of the protocol is to give certain personal information.
Yes.
And that tour operators use these personal information willingly, trustingly given to them by unsuspecting individuals against those individuals. I mean, you've been in this industry. Is this a true reflection of some of the bad activities within the tourism sector?
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, there are some people who do that, who take advantage of customers, clients, and they use their information against them. That is where referrals are very important. Referrals before parting with anything. Referrals about the company, referrals about the person. And thank God for social media. You can actually track people. You can hear people's comments. You can actually trace people from Facebook, and if the person doesn't have a social media trail, that should be a cause of concern. Because practically everybody should have, at least worst case, a social media trail that can be traced to at least the past 10 years. So if someone doesn't have that, that should be a red flag. So if the person has it, one can cross-check with other people who may know the person or who those such people have rendered services. That's why we have websites like TripAdvisor, where people go and put their feedbacks about accommodation, about hotels, about packages that they've done. So you can actually run through that. For instance, there was a time I wanted to do some packages with some tour operators in India. What I simply did was just to go to TripAdvisor, and by the time I had checked 3 comments, I knew that that was not the right person to deal with. So sometimes if we are just patient enough to do a little background check, we would be saved of a lot of headache and trouble of fraud.
Moving forward, how do we strengthen tourism within the context of mainstream national activity, economic activity in Nigeria, the entire African region, because there's enormous resource in that sector? How do we, moving forward?
Moving forward, I would advocate and campaign that we speak well of what we have. I will advocate and campaign that we speak well of Nigeria, that we sincerely love our nation, irrespective of what is happening. We shouldn't look at other nations like Rwanda and Kenya and think that they don't have their own problems. They have their own problems, but they have chosen to amplify what they want you to see. So what do I want people to say about Nigeria? That's what I amplify, because what I pay attention to gets bigger. But if I pay attention to the insecurity, to the problems with government and problems with infrastructure, that's what people will see, because that's what we keep saying. So I would say that firstly, we need to begin to campaign and let people see that Nigeria is a good place. Nigeria has potentials. These tourism potentials will benefit everybody at the end of the day. It will benefit the least, it will benefit the highest, and it will benefit all across board. Because when the foreigners come with their foreign currency, the person that picks them at the airport benefits, the accommodation where they stay benefits, the person who carries their bag benefits. At the end of the day, it's an ecosystem that trickles round, and everybody's happy for it.
Under this, has insecurity been an issue for tourism? Has it been really?
Yes, I must say. Insecurity is a major issue for tourism. A situation where tourists come to Nigeria and they go to a tourist site, a tourist location, and there are gunshots and people die. You know, such situations.
But it happens also where Nigerians go for leisure trips.
Yes.
It happens.
But they don't announce it, they don't advertise, they don't talk about it. So such things.
So the problem is with amplifying the negatives.
Yes, we
have so much negative narratives about Nigeria.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Ife Olariwaju. We've been having this insightful discussion with her. She's one of the lead players in the tourism sector in this country, and I think that I've also gained quite a lot from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Timu.
We do believe that tourism can drive a lot of value in the nation's economic development agenda. Help do it, help achieve it. Thank you very much for being with us. It's been exclusive interview on AD4 TV Radio.
Audio Jungle.